Some countries have more neighbors than you have friends, and each of them brings drama and some stories. So, which are the ones who have the biggest group chat? Let's find out. With 14 neighbors, the heavyweight champion of borders, China. You might wonder, why so many? Well, when you're one of the biggest countries on Earth, both in land area and population, you naturally bump into a lot of neighbors. Now, let's meet them. We have Bhutan and Nepal, two little guys. Just a little bit to the west lie India and Pakistan. All these four countries have the privilege of sharing the Himalayas with China. I suppose you know them, the highest mountain range in the world. Nepal holds a special status among these because it shares Mount Everest, the world's highest peak. Yes, I know there is a situation in the border area between India and Pakistan, some tension, and yes, it's real. Right beside them, we find Afghanistan. Its border with China is short, just 76 kilometers. Hidden deep within Wakhan Corridor, it's barely accessible. As we continue, we encounter another two stand countries, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Are you tired? Because we're only halfway there. Finally, the last stand on the list, Kazakhstan. And here's a fun fact. When you cross the border from China into Kazakhstan, you actually go back in time, thanks to a 2-hour time difference. Next up, the one you've probably been waiting for, Russia. If China is big, then Russia is absolutely massive. Just look at the numbers. Their shared border stretches over 4,000 kilometers. And right here, they split this island, Bolshoy Ussuriski. It was once disputed, but now they are peacefully sharing it, as good friends do. Of course, we can't forget Mongolia, resting between China and Russia. China shares a very long border with Mongolia, most of it being represented by the Gobi Desert, and that is really a lot of sand. Moving on, we find North Korea, the next neighbor, a much smaller one compared to Russia. I don't know about you, but in many ways I find this one the most unique. And now, we've made it to the final countries, Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar. With these three, we complete the tour of China's neighbors. Let's take a final look and hope there will be only good relationships between them. Before we move on, I have a question for you if you're from China. Which neighbor feels closest to your heart? And if you're from one of China's neighboring countries, how do you see China? I would like to hear your stories. Guess what? Russia also has 14 neighbors, just like China. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Russia, it's massive. When the Soviet Union dissolved, it left Russia with a wide circle of neighbors. If Russia were a pizza, well, let's just say it wouldn't fit in the oven. Alright, the first two neighbors are sharing a backyard with Santa Claus because I'm talking about Norway and Finland. There is a special spot where these three meet, a tri-point marked by a curious landmark. This one. Norway, Russia, Finland. But here's the fun question. If you climb up that mound, are you standing in three countries at once? Next, we come to two of the Baltic countries, Estonia and Latvia. They used to be part of the Soviet Union, but in 1991 they became independent again. It's family time, because now we have arrived at Belarus, a country that feels more like a sibling to Russia than just a neighbor. You can feel it in the way people move between them. No border checks, no fuss. But if you're a foreigner, it's a different story. Crossing into Russia from Belarus by land might seem simple, but it's not considered a legal entry point, so be careful. We move on to the last of the Baltic trio, Lithuania, and its neighbor, Poland. But between them lies something unusual. Kaliningrad, a small, isolated piece of land that still belongs to Russia, adding two extra borders. Lithuania was once part of the Soviet Union, while Poland, let's just say the memories with Russia aren't exactly warm, and they haven't been forgotten. The following neighbor is Ukraine, and honestly, this one is heavy. Crimea, Donbass, tanks. What was once just a border is now a deep, open wound. We've reached Georgia and Azerbaijan, where the presence of the Caucasus Mountains forms a natural border with Russia. They've walked their own path since the Soviet Union collapsed. The relationship between Russia and Georgia remains tense, and for good reason. I'll limit myself to this: Abkhazia and South Ossetia. It's still very real for the people who live with its impact every day. Our next neighbor is Kazakhstan, a country whose land hosts Russia's Baikonur Cosmodrome, the world's oldest spaceport. Even today, rockets still lift off from Kazakh soil. We have already met the next neighbor, and I'm talking about China. But there's something I haven't told you yet. These two don't just share a border, they actually share two, a short one in the west and a long one in the east. 2 points of contact between two of the world's biggest forces. And right between them lies Mongolia, one of the 14 countries that shares a border with Russia. Finally, North Korea. Last on the list, but certainly not least, They are linked by just one rail bridge crossing the Tumen River, a narrow connection between two very different worlds. Now I've got a question for my Russian friends. Out of all 14, which one feels like the best neighbor to you? The bronze medal in the border count goes to Brazil with 10 neighbors. And look at that, we finally made it to South America. Brazil is so big and it's right in the heart of South America where it touches almost every country on the continent, all except Ecuador and Chile. Alright, let's start with the first neighbor, Uruguay. These two share something special, a pair of twin cities, Rivera on one side and Santana do Livramento on the other, where there is no physical border barrier. You can literally just cross the street and find yourself in another country. Honestly, that's pretty cool. Let's meet another two neighbors, Paraguay and Argentina. They share something special, the Triple Frontier, a tri-border area where three countries come together. Nestled near this meeting point, you'll find Puerto Iguazu in Argentina, Ciudad del Este in Paraguay, and Foz do Iguaçu in Brazil, each with its own vibe and charm. On each shore, waiting for you, there is a simple monument painted in the colors of its nation. I think it's a nice feeling being there. Our next four neighbors, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia, and Venezuela, complete Brazil's connection to the Spanish-speaking area. Something that ties them together is the Amazon rainforest, which stretches across nearly the entire length of the borders. With Bolivia, the connection runs not just through the jungle, but also pipelines, since Bolivia supplies Brazil with natural gas. Sadly, as their economic crisis deepened, thousands of Venezuelans crossed into Brazil. Fortunately, they launched Operation Welcome, providing shelter, food, and medical aid, giving Venezuelans a fresh start. Every journey has its final stretch, and ours ends with Brazil's last three neighbors, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. None of them is a Spanish-speaking country, and French Guiana is actually part of France. So yes, in its way, Brazil shares a border with Europe. A curious twist. Brazilians, tell me, which of your neighbors feels like a true friend? If you enjoyed this video, you know what you have to do, my friend. Come on, don't be shy, hit those buttons, and you will get more content like this. It was a pleasure to have you here, buddy. Take care, and I hope I will see you in another video.